Now if you clicked on the video, you didn't come here to learn camshaft grinding 101. You don't need to know corrected compression ratios and duration and separation to pick out a camshaft. We're not Arthur Davidson. We're not engineering these things. We're just big monkeys that want to take a ground stick of steel, stick it in our sickle, and go fast. And even though I was trained on all that stuff through the years to pick out a camshaft for myself or one of my customers, this is the way I did it. And I've yet to have a customer who said that didn't suit the needs that they were wanting. So what you got to realize is the manufacturers, when they grind a cam, they're gonna do a dyno, and they're gonna have a dyno graph, and they're gonna put, typically they put it on their webpage beside the listing. Not all of them do. I don't think S&S does, but you can always go to some kind of cam shootout, or somebody's done a dynograph, Fuel Moto, somebody comparing the different camshafts, and you'll be able to look at the graph. Now I understand there people are going to say, okay, the dyno chart is only good for wide open throttle, and that's true. That's where they do it at. But the thing is, you think about it. Let's say you've got a camshaft that you've chosen because you ride on the flat a lot in Kansas or something like that. You're doing 80 mile an hour. You want to pass this big rig. Well, if you're at 80 mile an hour, you're probably a good 5/8 into your throttle anyway, at least a half, you know, and so at that RPM. And so when you go to pass that rig, and y'all know it as well as I do, part of the fun of riding these sickles is because we like to skirt the limits of recklessness just a little bit. When we go to pass, yeah, we can pass kind of slow, but we're going to gag it. All right? And when you gag it, you may not go to 100% throttle, but you're going to go 3/4, something like that. So these dynographs are good estimates of the performance you're going to get in the RPM ranges that you're wanting it. So like you take for instance this grind right here is very similar to the one that I put in my my Dyna. Now my Dyna is my hot rod, okay, and you know I take it on bike night and you know go bar hopping and stuff like that. And of course, you know, I wanted something that suited the needs of what I was going to do with it, which you know what I was going to do with it. I'm going to pull up to a red light beside my buddy, and we're going to hammer down red light to red light. And so my shift points are going to be 5,000 to 5,500 because I ain't blowing my sickle up just to prove a point. And so I know that my RPM is going to drop to say 4,000 and some change. And let's say I'm pulling ahead up and I make that shift. Well, in that shift I'm going to lose a little ground, just a scotch, at least a little, you know, you are. And so if I've got this thing coming alive at around 4,000 RPM, and that's where its max torque is, and it stays pretty close to that, then when I dump that clutch, I'm going to gain that ground a little bit and put me back where I was or even further ahead, because that's at my maximum torque. And then as it starts to drop off a little bit, my horsepower is still increasing. As you can see, it's very smooth and linear, and as it's increasing, you know, I may be gaining a little ground, but then I make another shift, okay? Now you take my Heritage. Now that's the one that I go coast to coast with. You know, I pull a lot of grade through the Rocky Mountains. I've gone up the Appalachian Mountains, the whole 9 yards up through Maine. And I need something, because I'm loaded down, I need something that when I come into that hairpin curve, and then I got to slow down to a real low RPM, but then I got to pull a heavy grade, I don't want to have to downshift 3 times to be able to do that. I want to be able to just roll throttle, and I'm going to roll on. And if I've got a good cam, like you see this one here, this is actually the cam that I have on my bike, it pulls on 8 times out of 10 without me having to downshift more than once or at all. Alright, so the thing is, these graphs are very good tools to pick out the kind of camshaft that you're going to need on your average guy who's just wanting to get a little more performance out of his bike. I'm not saying this is the best way to choose which one you're going to need for your full out race bike to go to the drag strip and stuff like that. So anyway, you can also look at some other magazines. They'll do shoot-offs and compare cams and do dynographs. If you can't find the graph that you're looking for, and and that'll help you pick out the cam that you need. So I'm gonna end it here. Drink me this cold ass Blue Moon. I'll see y'all on the next one.